I would like to call to order the regular board meeting of January 24, 2022 of the Board of Park Commissioners of the Lake Bluff Park District. Marcia, can we please have a roll call?
Yes, Commissioner Beeler.
Here.
Commissioner Lane.
Here.
Commissioner Raymore.
Here.
Commissioner Reeder.
Here.
Commissioner Walsh.
Here.
Commissioner Weber. And President Greenfield.
Here. Can I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
I have a request to amend the agenda. Should I go ahead and say it?
Well,
Can you hear me?
I think we have a motion.
I didn't hear a
approve it?
motion. I spoke up right away. So
You know, okay, sorry. And I thought
that's okay.
so.
That's okay.
Okay.
I spoke up right
Sorry,
away.
I'm trying to mute because I also have a snow blower in the background, so it's kind of loud.
I have a request to amend the agenda, and that would be on the section discussing the lease with Golf Visions, that we take the word approval off, mainly because we don't know exactly what we're going to talk about today, but we had decided in the October meeting to vote to.
And let's not go into the issue. We can go into the issue during the agenda item if you want to discuss it. This is just approving the agenda.
I understand. And so
So
my
I
request
think
is
we should just
to,
take a vote. If you want to make a motion to strike that from the agenda, and if there's a second for that, then we'll vote on it.
okay. I'd like to make a motion to strike the word approval from that agenda item because there was no motion listed on the memo. So we don't even know what we'd be voting on. So
I second it.
Marcia, roll call, please.
Commissioner Beeler.
No.
Commissioner Lane.
No.
Commissioner Raymore.
Yes.
Commissioner Reeder.
yes,
Commissioner Walsh.
Abstain.
Commissioner Weber.
No.
President Greenfield.
No. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as it is written?
So moved, Beeler.
Second, Lane.
Marcia, roll call, please.
Commissioner Beeler.
Yes.
Commissioner Lane.
Yes.
Commissioner Raymore.
No.
Commissioner Reeder.
no,
Commissioner Walsh.
Yes.
Commissioner Weber.
Yes.
President Greenfield.
Yes. Before we go into the statement of visitors, I'd just like to summarize, if I can, what the current policy of the board is. There's been some question both about the practice of the board as well as the policy of the board regarding public comments. So we will have separate opportunities for public comments. We will first do, as per the agenda, the statement of visitors, which is up to a 30-minute period, 3 minutes per speaker, to speak on an item that is not on the agenda. Following this, we will have public comments prior to each new business or action item. There's no, it would be for old business as well, except there isn't any on the agenda. And those public comments will again be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Once those comments are finished, then the public comments will be closed and the board will continue with its discussion without public comment. And then so any board discussion and or action will take place then. Some of the ground rules for this is that during those public comments, interrogation of the board and or staff is not allowed. And there will be no comment from the board or staff in relation to those public comments. So we don't get into any kind of public debate. It is strictly a period for the public to make comments. If there are a large number of people who want to comment on any particular item, then I am allowed to limit the number of speakers. And then we typically try to have an equal number of speakers who might be for a particular action or against a particular action. And we try to get as many people speaking as we can, but within the limits of the meeting and the time constraints we're under. Then if we have enough, if we have a lot of speakers on any one topic, then we will look to limit that. This evening, one of the policies that we're discussing is going to relate to what we post online prior to the meeting. In order to assist these comments tonight before we do public comments, I will provide a brief introduction to what we will be discussing so that the public will have an understanding of the matter at hand. And then I'll open it up to public comment. So with that, are there any statement of visitors about non-agenda items? Okay, seeing none, we will go on. Verbal communications.
No, Paul.
I see some hands raised.
There is a hand raised.
There's 2 hands raised.
Yes,
Okay, I'm
and
sorry.
Aaron Jocelyn
Aaron
and
Jocelyn.
someone named Rich.
Aaron Jocelyn. Jeff, do you want to turn her mic on?
She's on. Go ahead, Aaron.
Hi. So I'm sorry. So just to recap what you just said, it sounds like there's no discussion between the board and the public ever. There's only comments to the board, and then the board decides if they're going to discuss. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
And I just want to make a statement that that seems a little backwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Rich?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I just wanted to say, first of all, my wife and I have lived here about 28 years. We've enjoyed a lot of the amenities the Park District has provided and continues to provide. And we thank you for your service to that end. But I think there's, and I know some other people have brought this up before, but there seems to be somewhat of a lack of transparency from current leadership. We had the same experience that Gail Gamrath did last meeting. We couldn't comment. We couldn't see what you guys were even discussing. So that's a concern. And it's a little disconcerting that we can't bring up anything that's on the agenda. So I'm sort of at a loss as to what we're supposed to comment on. If the entire agenda that you're discussing this evening is what we want to comment on. So I'm a little perplexed by that. And that sort of dovetails with sort of a lack of transparency. But I guess it is what it is. Other than, I mean, I don't know what else to say, but that's about it.
Gail Gamrath? Gail?
Can you hear me at this point? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I wanted to respond to, I wrote a letter concerning the park board transparency after last Monday's board meeting. I just want to say how grateful I am that I heard from 5 out of the 7 commissioners. And I appreciate the communication and the conversation back and forth on this. Also, I've talked to John Beeler, and it just makes me feel better about everyone, you know, and the kind of hot topics that we're facing here with the wetland projects. I'm hopeful, I trust, and I
He's
Gail,
muted.
we lost you.
Jeff, can you unmute her?
Yep. I asked her to unmute, but she's not
okay.
responding.
I unmuted again. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all right. I don't know where I was cut off, but I appreciate the conversation. That's the Lake Bluff that I know and love and grew up with. And I've gotten to know some people on the board through that. So I appreciate that. I appreciate Ann Reeder questioning the approval of the Golf Visions contract. Things like that are what make people nervous and not trustful, because I believe there was kind of a statement that there are not going to be renewals or approvals at this time of the Golf Vision contract. So to have that be on the board agenda, that makes us question a little bit. And again, I will continue to ask this question because I haven't had a good response on, once the task force is done reviewing, researching, what is the communication plan that the park district has with the community, and then the community's ability to have input on that once all that research and the facts are placed in front of us on this major decision for the village. That's my final comment. Thank you.
Thanks, Gail. Thank you. Tanya Sharman.
Yeah, I had my hand, can you hear me?
Yes.
I had my hand up as before Gail spoke, and it's really a similar comment. As I was just concerned about any decisions that were going to be made about the golf course before we have full disclosure of the facts of this current situation with the golf course and potential nature preserve. And I'm just wondering, are we allowed to comment? I'm sorry, I don't know the rules exactly. Can we comment?
No, the comments tonight, if you're going to comment on an agenda item, you have to comment at that time. This is a statement of visitors related to non-agenda items.
Can we comment at the time of that discussion? Or is the public? Okay,
Yes.
great. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Can I get a point of clarification? Is there a time limit as to public comments on agenda items at that time?
It is 3 minutes per person.
Okay, so the comments at the beginning are 3 minutes and the comments during are 3 minutes?
Correct.
Okay, and how does that moderation process work? Are they before, during, after? From a disruption standpoint, I think there needs to be some type of outline we need to follow.
The comments will be at the beginning of when the agenda item is announced.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm a little perplexed as well. I feel like the board is changing the rules halfway through the game, because this is not how last week's meeting was run. And I'm just wondering where I can find the rules or guidelines for park district meetings, public comments, because there was no break. We couldn't even talk there was no 30-minute discussion before the last week's board meeting. and or there was no stopping before each item on the agenda. So what was special? What was so special about that meeting? Why was that meeting different? That's my first question. And my second question is, where can I find the guidelines on the Park District website? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Gary Doyle?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I just to confirm, so a couple of people back asked if we'd be able to comment on a certain item of the agenda. So that the golf course lease, that's the golf lease discussion under section 5, right? That's that section. I just want to know when we're allowed to comment. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Now, I just want to emphasize to all the people who've been speaking and who will speak, we don't comment, we don't debate with you here. We don't necessarily provide answers. We do take into account your comments, and we are listening. And to those comments that a response is warranted, we typically will respond. So please don't think because we're sitting here not debating with you during the meeting that we're in any way trying to avoid what you're saying or ignore what you're saying. We don't. It's just, this is our policy. It is our written policy to do this. And so we're going to follow that policy. Okay, now I believe that is all the speakers for the statement of visitors. If we go to verbal communication staff, John.
We really don't have much of anything that different than what was put in the packets. And you can see in I guess one of the things in my report, there's a number of different items, but we have been busy just dealing with, a lot of the issues related to COVID. We've had, with dealing with staff, dealing with programs. We just quarantined another one of our preschool classes after the weekend, and another positive case. So, and we're moving forward. They had the ETS, the emergency temporary standard, and OSHA was going to I guess mandate with the agencies. However, that's been the U.S. Supreme Court's put that on hold for now. So at this time, we're just kind of continuing with all of the protocols and safety guidelines that we've been using so far, and it's we're able to keep the facilities working, keep the staff safe, as safe as possible. But it is definitely a challenge day to day in dealing with a lot of this of what's going on out there. So just wanted to just highlight that in my report. Other than that, I don't have anything else, President Greenfield.
Okay. Any questions by the board?
Hey, John, real quick, with the positive cases at the preschool, could you maybe just touch on that policy and how that differs then? Well, I guess this isn't your purview, but could you just kind of talk about kind of that policy a little bit?
As far, well, if we are contacted by a family, that we have a positive case in the class, then we will quarantine, the entire class, including the teachers. Now, if, again, in some of the older programs, if they're, vaccinated, then it does affect whether you have to quarantine, but the younger ones in the preschool haven't. So that's different than our program. But we do reach out as soon as we hear that. We reach out and do a close contact communication with the parents, and we also contact Lake County, so they do the contact tracing, Lake County Health Department.
So there is kind of a differentiation between like the under 5 and the over 5 groups.
Yes. For instance, we had a close contact issue in our before school program, and with a counselor that tested positive. But after contacting the parents, it was a fairly small group. All of those children were vaccinated, were fully vaccinated. And so they didn't have to quarantine. They were able to come back to the program the next day.
Okay.
The counselor wasn't able to, but the children were. So that's kind of the difference between, for the ages and the vaccine.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Finance Administration and Future Planning Committee. Scott, anything to report?
We do not have anything to report. I think we spoke meeting on Monday about some of the projections related to the pool. And that was kind of the brunt of it. And we're kind of awaiting some direction.
Okay. Jennifer, Parks and Beach Committee, anything?
After our last marathon meeting, I gave everybody a rest. We will probably have to meet again sometime soon, but nothing current to report.
Okay, good. Emily, Facilities and Programs Committee?
So we had the recommendation that we made at the Cal meeting, and then we approved that as a board to do the scale down renovation. And then there was some items that we discussed regarding family membership, some revenue generating ideas. We had some discussion about the pickleball, and then some discussion about the open gym. So things that we're working on, but the big thing that we approved was the scale down renovation of the pool.
Okay. Good. Friends of Lake Bluff Parks, Nikki, do you have anything to report? John, welcome to the meeting.
I think everything that we discussed is probably going to be covered, by John. I think we're probably, I think that I'll just say I don't want to give anything away.
Okay, good. Do any of the commissioners have comments? Okay, President's report.
Paul, I do want to say one thing.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you to the staff. When we received some comments from the public, the staff was really receptive about, especially with our open gym and trying to be more accommodating. And they opened up, especially for the Martin Luther King Day, where there was some things that were conflicting, but they were able to, hear the folks and then work to, open up. And I just want to say thank you to the staff for doing that. And then, working towards creating a master plan so that the community knows exactly how that open gym is utilized, so that they know that it's not just there for open gym, but that's used for preschool kids, for the art program, for pickleball, for basketball. So it's an assortment of things we use that gym for. So we're all trying to work together so that we're using it wisely, but there's other things that are being, that's being used for. So I just want to say thanks to the staff, to John and Jim for getting that done. So thank you.
Second that one, Emily. They go above and beyond. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Any other comments from the commissioners? Okay. My report is a little bit difficult for me to do. I will be stepping down as president of the Park District Board. I'm planning on stepping down after this meeting. This is for health reasons. I've had a health condition for some time now. And Jennifer and John have both been aware of this for a while. I have not made any of you others aware of it. It is something that just requires more time, and given the time commitment that being president of the board requires today, which is quite a bit of time, plus my day job, which also requires some time. The time commitment for the board just does not allow me to take care of myself and what I'm dealing with. So I came to the very difficult conclusion that the right thing for me to do would be to step down as president. I will remain a board member. I will remain an active board member. And I've enjoyed my time as president very much, and I look forward to continuing to serve on the board. We will change the February 7th meeting from a committee of the whole meeting to a special meeting so that we can hold an election for president of the board at that time. And I will be nominating Jennifer Beeler, who has been a fabulous vice president, to be the next president of the board. And Jennifer has been terrific, and I have really kept her in the loop of everything. So I think she will be able to step up very seamlessly and take that on. And then other changes obviously will be discussed. So just to give you some perspective, you know, knowing how I love to play golf, I would typically be, you know, people would say on the board meetings and so on, oh, how was the golf? And you went out and played golf, and you know, played hooky from work and went and played golf. And I actually played golf about 4 times last summer, and not since sometime in June. So it's something I have to deal with, and that's fine. But like I say, I'm stepping down with reluctance, and I've enjoyed the relationship. I've enjoyed working with staff and certainly working with the board. So we will deal with that, and we will have that election at the next meeting on February 7th. Okay. If we can go on to the consent agenda, and if there are no objections, I'd like to have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second?
Second.
Marcia, roll call, please.
Who made that motion?
Scott, you made it, didn't you?
I didn't, but I can.
I thought you made it.
Wait, can I just make some changes to the minutes of January 17th?
You can.
On page 17, where it says, sorry, I'm scrolling. It says, it's the second paragraph. Commissioner Lane explained that the committee recommends doing the scaled back repair. If we can just make that a renovation. And then she said the balance tank would be repaired this year at a cost of 30 to 40. If we can just delete that, because I don't think that's what we're budgeting to do for the repair. Is that right, John?
It is what we budgeted 40, and it is probably going to cost in that range of 30 to 40. So that's
Okay. I don't think I said that number though, but
okay.
If we can just strike that, and then if we can just put the renovation change instead of repair, because we are renovating, we want to do that filter room, and that is a renovation.
Right.
It's not just a repair. And that's it. Thanks.
Okay. If there are no objections to the changes that Emily suggested, then can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda with those changes to the January 17, 2022 special board meeting incorporated?
So moved.
Second.
Sue got it first.
Lane.
Before we didn't have any, now we have too many.
Before we had Weber and Walsh. Right. Okay, ready? Commissioner Beeler,
Yes.
Commissioner Lane,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymore,
Yes.
Commissioner Reader,
Yes.
Commissioner Walsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Weber,
Yes.
President Greenfield.
Yes. Financial report. Now we go to the year-end financial report. Josh, do you want to comment?
I'm gonna ask Josh to share his screen so that everybody can see the information.
Let me. Yeah, so for the year-to-date financial report, so these are not the final numbers for 2021. We still have some invoices coming in. We also the auditors adjustments and some last-minute journal entries. For the general fund, revenue is over budget by 60,000 due to the amount of property taxes received. Currently, we receive 98% of property taxes, and we'll expect to get another payment at the end of this month, beginning of next month, from the county. They haven't set a certain date yet. And then year-to-date expenses are under budget by 19,646 in the general fund. In the rec fund, we're currently over budget by 282,000, and that's mainly due to rec programs of 219, pool 63, and golf 45. And then year-to-date expenses are over budget by 53,000. Personnel being over budget by 112, commodities 7,700, and contractual services 54,700. If we look at entity-wide, our net revenue, our net surplus is 467, 676 above year-to-date budget, with revenues being 521. Expenses 1,700 above budget, and capital and debt service 52,000 above budget. On the revenue side, property taxes, like I said, are 128,735, and that's entity wide. So that's general rec, debt, and special rec. And that's including a final payment for the 2019 tax levy year of 72,000. That was in May, that we couldn't move back because it was after the audit was already done. So currently we're at 98% of our taxes. Fees and admissions are 4,500 above year to date. Programs and lessons are 195 above the year to date budget. And a lot of that is due to rec programs, preschool being 106, camps 87. Miscellaneous income is 145 above year-to-date budget. And that's due to impact fees not being budgeted that we received from the village, 58. The preschool playground donation from the Friends of 38,000. Camp pool usage, $15,000, and the sale of the Nssra building of 10,434, and then the Golf Vision's 10%, over 800,000, made us $39,000. For expenses, like I said earlier, it's $1,700 above year-to-date budget. Personnel services being 129,000. Mainly due to rec programs, 85, opening up another classroom in the preschool. Camp counselors, we budgeted on a conservative end for COVID, and the pool. Commodities are below budget, $3,500, and contractual services are below budget, 124,000. Like I said earlier, these aren't necessarily the final numbers. Invoices are still coming in. And the auditors actually come tomorrow for the first preliminary work, and then they come again in February for a week. For our capital and debt services are 52,000 above year-to-date budget. Capital is 52,433 above budget, and that's mainly due to not budgeting for the full preschool playground. And then the Blair Park pickleball and tennis courts and our teaching basketball court were not budgeted originally for the 2021 budget. There is an outstanding balance for Sunrise Beach entrance project for 46. Just waiting on additional work to get done on that. So that will possibly accrued in 2021. I'll have to talk with the auditors first on that. And then the debt payments made this year are listed below. This January, we did pay off the 2016 bonds, and that is it. Does anyone have any questions?
Oh, I always have a question about racket sports. And tennis, we're below budget. What were we expecting? Where were we expecting to make that money from tennis? Was that supposed to be lessons or?
Yeah, I know Jim can probably jump into. I know some of it was due to renovating the tennis courts. We had to move our camps. So we dropped some of the lessons and programming due to that.
That was probably the significant part of it, was the fall, where we no longer had the Blair tennis courts while we were doing the pickleball courts. And so we had to move them to Artesian, and it definitely affected our total enrollment. So we were expecting about $20,000 in revenue during the fall.
Okay. When we see the property taxes, is there some way of smoothing out? I mean, I'm sure there is, but can we kind of take out the 2019 final payment and put in the 2021 final payment that's only coming in January so that we see?
Yeah, that's what the 98% is. So,
okay.
So for what we levied, we received 98%. That's not including the $72,000.
Okay.
So, I mean, we do budget for 98%, so we're above budget in the property taxes currently, and then we'll receive additional funds within the next few weeks.
Good. Good. Commissioners, you have any questions or comments? Can I then please have a motion to accept the financial report?
So moved.
Second.
Marshall, roll call, please.
Commissioner Bueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Lane,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymore,
Yes.
Commissioner Reader,
Yes.
Commissioner Walsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Weber,
Yes.
President Greenfield.
Yes. Thank you, Josh. All right, we now go to new business action items. The first item on the agenda is the NSSRA year-end presentation. I will ask for public comment. It's a presentation by the NSSRA. I'm not sure public comment is really going to be there, but okay, not seeing any hands raised. If we can please go to NSSRA Executive Director Craig Culp. Craig?
All right. Thank you so much. I will do my best to share my screen. So I put together just a handful of slides, a quick PowerPoint presentation. I promise I won't take more than 10 or 12 minutes, and then we'll open it up for some questions. So let me hit share screen here. Can everybody hear me? It looks like everybody can, right? Great.
Yeah.
See if this works. We're going to share that screen. Excellent. Do you see Lake Bluff NSSRA update on your screen now?
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. So thank you so much to the Lake Bluff Park District Board and John and your team for inviting me out. My name is Craig Culp. I'm the Executive Director at NSSRA, the Northern Suburban Special Rec Association. And I'm here for just a quick update on everything that's been happening at NSSRA in the last year or two now with COVID. Last time I was out was in the end of summer 2019. And on this first slide here, this is Tim and his mom, Kathy, who live in Lake Bluff, and they joined me. I typically bring out one or two of our families that are in our programs, but with COVID, that just isn't happening this time. So I will move right along. Let me see what button do. Oh. I thought I had started it, my bad. There we go. Okay, so we'll start with our mission, vision, and history, and a little bit of background. Nssra, for those of you that don't know of us or don't know a lot about us, we are an extension of the 13 park districts and rec departments of the North Shore. We're basically a park district for people with disabilities, Lake Bluff Park District being one of our founding members. As you can see there, our mission, and I need to move my, our mission is to enrich the lives of people with disabilities in our partner communities through quality recreation services. Kind of the key words here are the quality of life for our participants that have disabilities and in our partner communities. Nssra is a partnership organization, and our mission is strictly to serve our residents with disabilities recreational pursuits. Our vision is to be leaders in recreation by providing innovative and exceptional services for people with disabilities. And kind of the key word there is leaders. In 1970, Nssra was formed. So this is our 52nd year. We're the first ever SRA in the country. And Illinois, believe it or not, is the only state that has SRAs in it. So the programs that we offer are unique and very much appreciated by our residents with disabilities. And we're an extension of the 13 partner agencies of the North Shore, with Lake Bluff Park District being our northern border, and Wilmette and Glenview Park District being our southern border, and then the 10 communities in between make up our 13 partner agencies. So when it structure and our bylaws, the 5.8 levy, it's a special recreation specific levy that was written into the Park District Code in 1969, which then resulted in Nssra being formed and other SRAs being formed after that. And the 5.8 levy allows a park district that's part of an SRA to access that levy. And the levy specifically is maxed out at 4 cents on every $100 of EAV. And that levy, those dollars are specifically restricted to support SRA programming and accessible efforts for each of its partner agencies. And then our articles of agreement, very simply, it's the partnership document that governs Nssra and its 13 partner agencies. The picture here is of Beth, who's also a Lake Bluff resident. That was her at our 2019 Shining Stars banquet, and our fingers are crossed. Our Shining Stars banquet is scheduled for the end of April this year. We've had to cancel the last two, unfortunately, because of COVID. Moving on to participation. You can see our last 3 years participation marks there, and you can distinctly see where COVID started from our participation stats. It's because a vast majority of our participants already have some type of risks relative to their health and or participation that COVID and the needed mitigations around COVID only amplified and made worse over the last 2 years. In 2020, we started virtual programming, and we actually had periods, and I know John and his team experienced a very similar thing. We had periods in 20 and early 21 where we were 100% virtual programming only on Zoom. Thankfully, last year, in 2020 and in 2021, we've been able to get back into person with a hybrid approach with in-person programming with mitigations, which are difficult for some of our participants, needless to say, and that combined with our virtual programs. One benefit from the COVID pandemic has been the virtual programs that we offered. They're not going away. They won't be as plentiful as they were when we were really locked down for the pandemic, but it will be a feature and a offering that Nssra will continue to offer. Moving on to facilities. So Nssra, it's an extension of our 13 partner agencies, and a number of our programs are run in our partner agency facilities, including in Lake Bluff. So I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, have seen our powerlifting team working out in your fitness center. That's been our home workout center for our powerlifting team for over a decade now. And we've won many gold medals at the Special Olympic State Games as a result of that. The team is doing just great. So we're very thankful for that. In addition to that, prior to COVID, each winter on a Sunday, we would have a Special Olympics regional basketball tournament that would start at 6:30 in the morning on a Sunday and finish about 5. We'd have teams from all around the region coming in, and you guys were nice enough to host that for us. That has not come back yet. Special Olympics is working on their schedule for regional tournaments coming up. And they actually asked us if we considered running a volleyball tournament. So whether it's basketball or volleyball, we'll be back in touch with John and Jim and their team as soon as things get cleared. In addition to that, we have run dance and exercise classes in your studio off the gym a number of times in past years. So we're out in Lake Bluff a good amount. In addition to the programs I was just mentioning, we also, with all of our partners, we have an inclusion component, one of our biggest programs. And basically, inclusion is when, our inclusion program is when a resident with a disability prefers to be in their home park district program rather than in one of NSSRA's individual programs. And we have a young lady named Jasmine who is working with a child named Dev. He's in your early morning preschool program. And then she also works with John in the afternoon rec club. And we received this, or Jasmine received this review at the end of the year from the Lake Bluff Park District staff. And I'll just read a real quick snippet of it. It says, Jasmine does a phenomenal job showing compassion and empathy while working with program participants. She's kind, patient, a great listener, and positive in her interactions with everyone. She provides optimism and encouragement to others in almost every situation. She's a team player, 100% and always, willing to help in any capacity and takes initiative to do so without being asked. For example, after snack time, she assists with cleanup and helps wipe down tables without being prompted. She helps our participants feel comfortable and welcomed at all times. So I thought that'd be important just to share with you because she's doing a great job out there at your program. Obviously with, and in the last slide, that was Tim again there. I'm sorry, no, it wasn't. If I can go back one, I can show Karen. So this is Karen, another one of our residents. This is her performing. We had our choir sing a couple of songs at our dedication earlier or at the end of the year. And this is Karen in our choir program here too. Moving on to budget. NSSRA's budget is basically made up of 3 components. First is a MAC, which is a member agency contribution. That's Lake Bluff's contribution to our operational budget on an annual basis, and you can see the history there. Inclusion contribution, it's according to registration. For example, Jasmine, who we just spoke about, Jasmine's wage is charged back to Lake Bluff through the 5/8 levy. So the more inclusion participants that have staff working with them, the higher that fee can be. And it truly goes on a cycle of registration versus, if somebody becomes completely independent, doesn't need a staff anymore, then that contribution goes down. So it's a year-to-year direct dollars charge back. And then lastly is our capital contribution. It's titled, or you see there says 2013 to 2012. You might ask why is it listed like that? NSSRA, believe it or not, didn't have a capital plan until 2013. I started in 2008. It was one of my goals when I started. And in 2013, the NSSRA board and our partner agencies passed a capital plan and facility acquisition plan, working towards securing a new home for NSSRA, which we accomplished late last year. So from 13 to 22, you can see Lake Bluff's contribution to NSSRA's facility and capital efforts was $208 or just under $209,000 in the total $5 million that was contributed by partners for the $9 million project. The good news is it's a $9 million project with which $4 million came from the public through our foundation, which is an absolutely fantastic story. So Lake Bluff's contribution is 4.2% of the partner's share and 3.1% of the entire project. Continuing on to our fund balance at the end of last year, start of this year, because we're on a fiscal year, the board directed staff to fund its operational fund balance at $560,000, as you can see there, which is just under 15%. And fund our brand new capital replacement plan at just over $1.2 million. The reason that after opening a $9 million building, we're able to secure or put away fund balances at that level, basically three main reasons. Number one and number two is the continuing COVID pandemic and our staffing issues. They both have caused us to run almost all of our programs exclusively with our full-time staff. And that has benefited our bottom line as we continue to look for program staff to help us out. In addition to that, we received a $500,000 grant from the state for the renovation project. And which we have in hand, that $500,000 has been funded. We've also, in Capital Bill 62 and 64, we have $5 million in capital dollars in those capital bills through the state that are coming our way. The only challenge is we don't know when those will be appropriated. So we're working with our legislators to get those dollars coming our way sometime in the future, but we do not have an exact timeline for that. And then last on this slide is, and I think Josh had mentioned it, at the beginning of the year, we sold our Northbrook building, and the proceeds, the $300,000, just under $300,000 that we received from the sale was returned to our partner agencies. Moving on to the foundation, our number one partner outside of our partner agencies, created in 1997. In their first 22 years, 97 to 2019, they provided $2.2 million in support to Nssra in the form of scholarships, buying all of our vehicles, sponsoring our big special events, and helping us start programs like our Adult Day program. So that's in their first 22 years. In 2019, we asked them to support our efforts towards a new building, which they happily jumped right in. And they provided a $600,000 towards the purchase of the building, and then took on a $2 million capital campaign for the renovation, which, as you can see here, they accomplished by raising $2.2 million, which is absolutely fantastic. And that was contributed. I'm sorry, I have a resident cat that just stopped by. And then in addition to that, at the end of the year, they committed to a capital replacement plan for all of our vehicles, of which we have 10, and to replace the participant spaces in our new facility to the tune of an estimated $100,000 a year for those vehicles and spaces over time, which is really exciting. Moving right along, our new facility, the Mitchell L. Slotnik Center, named after Mitchell Slotnik, their family provided $1.15 million towards the effort to purchase and renovate. It was dedicated in October. I know John and other board members and folks from the team there at Lake Bluff were in attendance. We're now located on Lake Cook Road, just east of 41, right across from the Botanic Gardens. As I said, it was a $9 million project, from which $5 million came from our partner agencies and $4 million came through our foundation from the public, and almost virtually exclusively from our participants and their network and their families. It's a 30,000 square foot building that we purchased. We renovated, we gutted 22,000 square feet, and now we have 16,000 square feet of programming space for our participants. So we've always been participant based, and this facility follows that. It's all about the participants. The new spaces include 3 multi-purpose rooms of varying sizes, participant lounge, outdoor patio, teaching kitchen, a fitness room, and art room. And as I mentioned before, our new location. Here are just a couple of pictures of our new spot, and please, anybody who wants to come out and see it, we're really proud of it. It's a great partnership of public and private. But this is our participant lounge where everybody enters, a conference room. It's a quick shot of our art room. This is the Ella room, which is our largest multi-purpose room. That's where we held our dance. It can hold up to 185 people at one time. And this is just a close-up of in our fitness room. It's not like your fitness center, it's more of a fitness room, but it really fits us well. Challenges, we have them for sure. We're doing great. We had a wonderful year, but I'd mentioned it a couple times already. Our number one challenge, very simply, and I know we're not unique, is our staffing shortage. We're in tremendous need of programming staff and inclusion staff. to be in to help out in our programs. With the staff we have, again, our full-time staff is leading the majority of our programs. We prioritize safety first and then just maximize our staffing to make as many programs run as we possibly can. You know, quantifiably, if you can see our W-2s over the last 3 years, in 2019, we're over 400 W-2s issued. 2020 and 21, we weren't even able to get up to 200. So I know, just like Lake Bluff Park District and all of our partners, we're all looking for the same, individuals to come out and help us out. And our partners have been great, just trying to make everything work out. And then COVID, obviously, we mentioned it a little bit before. Safety is always our number one priority. The mandates and the challenges with COVID being airborne just further isolates and makes it a challenge for our participants, some of whom just a mask really is not an easy thing for them. And then we just rely on our creativity and resilience of our team to keep our programs running and keep our participants engaged. So I tried to rifle through that as quickly as I could. Questions from anybody? I'd happy to discuss anything that I brought up.
Craig, I've been on this for what, 1.5 years now, and we haven't had the pleasure of meeting, but I learned a lot more over the last 8 to 10 minutes than than I have over the past 18 months here. So that was really informative, and it's an awesome program. And I think I can speak freely on behalf of all the commissioners when I say well done, and we continue to we look forward to continuing to support you in the future.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And seriously, anytime anybody's, if you're at the Botanic Gardens when the weather's nice, feel free just to run across the street. We're literally right across the street from Botanic Gardens, and take a look at, we couldn't do this without our 13 partner agencies that started us back, in 1970. We're all about our participants, and our participants wouldn't have these opportunities if it wasn't for the great 13 park districts of the North Shore. So please stop by. You'd be really proud because it's your efforts, and it's part of your community. So we'd love to have you come out.
Craig, I'd like to second what Scott had to say, and I think for the whole community, I think it's a great program, and that we have an opportunity here in Illinois of doing these with these SRAs, and I think it's fabulous. So, second.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I know, Lake Bluff has been super supportive. We have an annual golf outing. I know that we've been at your course, and I think we're 2 or 3 years away from being back in Lake Bluff. So you guys are wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we actually were supposed to put a presentation by John Hirsch of the Friends of Lake Bluff Parks. It was left off the agenda by human error, which happens now and then. If no one has any objections, I would like to add that back onto the agenda at this point and turn the floor over to John, who is the chairman of the Friends of Lake Bluff Parks.
Thank you, Paul. John Hirsch, I am the president of the Friends, and Paul, I just want to say, wish you well. Certainly thinking about you and your challenges, and thank you for everything that you've done, your commitment to Lake Bluff and to the Park District and serving the public. Means a lot what people do for our community. And I think it gets lost sometimes that, people have different opinions. I've lived in Lake Bluff for 36 years of my 50 years of life. I love this community. I love the people here. I know many of you on this call personally. I know people who have already spoken personally. And I think in some of the controversy and differences of opinions, it gets lost of what a great place this is to live. And one of the reasons it's a great place is the way that we treat each other. And the energy and the effort that people put forth as volunteers to make this place such a great place. So I would be remiss without saying that. I thank you, Paul, and certainly wish you well. This is going to be a totally non-controversial presentation. At least that's my intention. And it's about people donating to make Lake Bluff better. You know, the park districts program and facilities that we have is awesome, and that's a credit to the people on the park board and everyone who uses it. It's certainly a credit to Jim and John and Josh and Jeff and the park district employees on this call. But you know, the Friends are trying to do our part to supplement that. And I did want to make a presentation tonight, and I'm a technology idiot, but I am going to do my best to share my screen if I'm ready, Jeff.
You want me to do it?
I think I can do it. Let me see here. Here we go. Screen number 1.
There we go.
Thank you for your patience. So we did, Josh was kind enough to give us a lot of the figures, and John was kind enough to work with me. And then I had myself and someone I work with put together this presentation just to go through everything that we've been doing as an organization at the Friends. So I am going to proceed with the presentation here. If I can
click slideshow.
Thank you. Help me out. I'm not a PowerPoint guy.
It's in the middle at the top.
Thank you.
And then click from the beginning, all the way to the left.
I'm not seeing it.
Slideshow again.
Thank you. Here we go. I'm sorry, let me go backwards here. Thanks for your patience, everyone. Okay, now I'm ready. So I had an agenda. We have total funds raised by event, projects completed in 2021, expenses, other events and accomplishments, fund balances from 2021, our objectives for 2022 going forward. And I did want to say thank you to everyone who's donated, and certainly to the park board. So the Friends fundraising has grown substantially since I got on the board, which was about 2017. We really were project specific. I want to say, and we did a number of events. I want to say the first year I was on the Friends board, maybe we raised $15,000. And we've really grown it a lot. And it's a credit to the people that were on the board, including Jennifer, and the people that continue to be on the board and our new friends as well. And this past year, as of November 30th, and this number is now higher, I don't have all of the December data. I have some of it, but I wasn't completely sure about it. But we raised almost $100,000 total of funds for the Friends. And some of that would be the preschool fund, which we raised almost $4,000 from the bonfire event. Now, we did fund the playground, but most of that money came from 2020, not 2021. We did raise about $4,300 in the pickleball and tennis fund. And then you can see a number of unrestricted funds and so forth. That was about 6,000. And the big one, which was our objective, to raise a lot of money for the beach fund and Sunrise Park, that was almost $80,000. Most of that was in the brick sales, which is about 47,000. Straight donations were about 16,000. Sunrise Rocks, we had 2 different Sunrise Rocks parties, and that was a great benefit to the community to have that be set up to donate towards the Friends, and we're totally grateful for that. Raised almost $10,000. We did sell, and you can see the chair art for the beach that made about $5,700, and we had a wine tasting and wine sales through Lake Bluff Wines, and that raised about $1,400. So primary objectives was raise money for the beach. We did raise an awful lot towards it. And then moving along, as far as the projects completed, we paid for the golf course bottle filler, which was a project that the association really wanted to do. And that was completed this year for about $2,200. Preschool playground, of course, was funded and opened. That was a large donation by the Friends for $38,000. Most of that money was raised in 2020. And we're totally grateful to the preschool parents, who many of them donated their tuition when preschool was canceled because of COVID when it first happened. Many parents and Brian from our board put out a letter to the parents to ask for donations, and we got tons of people who just left all of their tuition to the Friends to pay for the new preschool playground. And we thought it was going to take 3-4 years to get, and we ended up being able to raise the money right away, fund it, and have it happen. And so we're really excited that the people who are attending the preschool, and according to the financial data, it seems like preschool is one of the, if not the most successful park district program that we have. So having the funding for a new playground for those kids and parents was a real great thing for the community. And then you can see the Sunrise Bricks. We about $66,000 in revenue total so far. I think there was about another $3,000-4,000 in December of additional revenue. So we continue to have money trickle in for the bricks, and we're going to continue to sell bricks as long as we can continue to make money off of it. You can see about $47,000 2021, $19,000 for 2020, and then about $13,000 in expenses. That was the buying of the bricks and the engraving and so forth. The labor was donated to install the bricks, not the engraved bricks, that is, not obviously the patio itself was funded through the state grant with Julie Morrison. Other events and accomplishments. So the Friends are really active. We do a lot. We try to make ourselves public in the community, and we had a whole bunch of events. So we helped to organize and manage the engraved brick project. And Jeff on the screen was a huge help to us to managing the process. So I got to throw out a big thank you to Jeff. We participated in 2 Sunrise Rocks parties as fundraisers for the Friends, and we're grateful to Todd for hosting that and for allowing the money raised there to be donated to the Friends. We participated in 2 pickleball tournaments as fundraisers for the new courts. Had a fundraiser at the Lake Bluff Brewery for the Friends and the beach, and sold chair art. Participated in the 4th of July fireworks in Bluffinia and the farmers market to help sell the chair art. Participated in the wine tasting. Thank you, Jennifer, for helping with that. We actually recruited 4 new board members, 2 being complete additions above what we had before. And we've already been getting donations and great ideas from those board members, tons of energy. Participated in 3 different ribbon cuttings, a preschool playground, Sunrise Park, and Blair Park for the pickleball, and begin the process of revamping our website to better message what we're doing to support the parks in Lake Bluff. And we created a new beach fundraising subcommittee with Brian from our board leading that, and tons of energy and tons of interest, and we're planning even more events going forward. So expenses, the unrestricted fund, we spent about $3,000. Preschool fund, this is the building of the playground, was about $39,500. Golf fund was for the bottle filler, water bottle filler. The pickleball and tennis fund was for the 2 tournaments that we put on, medals and so forth, and t-shirts. Sunrise Park Beach Fund, most of this is the engraved pavers. And these are the fund balance totals. So we have about $141,000 on hand. You can see restricted fund, unrestricted fund, golf fund, a preschool scholarship fund. So that was one of the things that was created with the demise of the skate park. We approached the original donors and determined that they would like to fund a scholarship. And we determined that that scholarship would go to either worthy families who couldn't pay the complete amount, local residents, or military families that wanted to bring their kids to preschool in Lake Bluff. So one of the things I wanted to stress in this is we're a donor-driven organization, and we really want to focus on projects that the Park District needs, but also projects that the donors are calling for. So we really try to be responsive to our donors because they're the people that give us the opportunity to do these projects. So you can see the beach fund has quite a bit of money in it. Cross-country ski fund, a little bit of money. The paddle fund, almost done. Pickleball, we're on our way. We've got a ways to go to raise for their Parks and Ravine, Memorial Beach, and the preschool fund. Then some objectives for 2022. Really, our biggest objective, which the board already knows about, is we have committed to try to raise $100,000 per year towards the beach. That's continues to be one of our primary objectives as friends, and we have a lot of plans on how we're going to obtain that. Pickleball also raised $13,000 to help pay for our portion of the commitment for the courts. We are excited to renew the color run. That was an awesome event that the residents loved and people had tons of fun with, if COVID will allow for it. And then to continue to raise funds for paddle golf, preschool, and the fitness center, and other future needs through a variety of events and fundraising plans. And then participate and organize other fun events that encourage donors to support our parks. And finally, we completed our website refresh, or we plan to, and use that and other tools like social media to really get the message out, communicate to our public in Lake Bluff the exciting projects that we have, and encourage them to donate, because people are super generous in Lake Bluff. And I know that people on this call know that, but a lot of times it's just communicating the need and getting out there and letting people know, hey, there's opportunities that are right here in our community to make this the great place it is to live. And for those of you who moved here shortly, you'll discover this. And those of you who have been here know that this is an awesome place to live. And it's because people care so much about this community. So I look forward to continuing with our momentum. And you can see these are the friends and many of the park commissioners from the ribbon cutting. And you know, I did say this in the beginning to Paul, I will say this to all the commissioners and all the people who volunteer, whether it's on the task force for the golf course, whether it's volunteers for the Friends, whether it is the park district itself, the park board. We have so many people who give their time and energy and passion to this community to make it what it is. And I just want to say thank you to every one of you, because I know it takes energy, it takes time, and it takes sacrifice to be present and to care enough to say, hey, I'm going to do something. So for all of you that do stuff, whether it's donate money or donate your time, your energy, your passion, I want to say thank you from the Friends for your partnership. And I look forward to working with you as we continue to move forward.
John, thank you very much. And I have to, turn that around and thank you for your effort and your work and what your board is doing. John and I have had the opportunity to, we've met personally several times. We've had the opportunity to meet virtually lately, which seemed to me John was in his car off some other place. It was very surreptitious but what's important is that we as a board and that the Friends board continue to work together for the betterment of the Park District and the betterment of the community. And so we maintain open lines of communications. Nikki, of course, is our representative to your board now. Jennifer was on your board before she was a board member at the Park District. And we look forward to working with you. And I know you've had discussions with John Beeler recently in terms of the beach fund and what we can do. And we reached some understandings there, and I think that's a good plan. And just continue to work closely with you so that we all benefit, so that the community benefits.
Yeah, thank you again from me, because John, you have really taken the Friends Foundation and moved it into a whole new direction over the last couple of years. So it's just tremendous to see how many people want to give back to the Park District financially and through their time, through all the things that we've done for different events. But I really appreciate what you've done, and I wish I could name every single person on the board for the foundation, because they are all such hard workers. They give so much of themselves to do this. So wow, $94,000 is amazing. So good job. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments for John? Okay, John, thank you again very, very much.
Thank you, John.
And we really look forward to working with you. All right, if we can go to the next topic, which I suspect will engender a little bit more discussion. The golf lease discussion. Just to give people in the community, people on the call who did not receive the packet, of course, some background to this. We received a request to meet, and when I say we, the Park District, John Beeler actually, and staff received a request to meet with Golf Visions, with whom we, of course, have a lease to manage the golf course, to discuss a proposal that they wanted to make relative to essentially providing us with a payment that would cover all the capital needs for the golf course for the foreseeable future. Golf Visions is very satisfied with the course. They're happy managing it. They want to continue manage it. As we will get into in a few minutes, John did not approach them with this because the board had taken action where we were not going to extend the lease. We were not going to discuss extension of the lease. But the new proposal, and really the question obvious, or the issue obviously, is we've got our task force looking at these proposals for wetlands that would eliminate the golf course. And so that certainly conflicts with extending the lease of the golf course. And Golf Vision proposed that should we reach agreement with them to extend the lease, that if we in fact did accept one of the proposals to build wetlands and eliminate the golf course, that the extension of the lease would be terminated with no penalty to Lake Bluff Park District. So it would give us an out if we need it. And if we don't need it, it would provide the Park District with $850,000 over a 7-year period. So with that, I would open the floor to public comments. So if people can raise their hands if they would like to speak. And again, if you would, well, we're going to try to get to as many people as we can. So first, and I'm just going in order of this is more or less the order that you're on the list. Gail Gamrath. Gail.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. I find this highly problematic, and I don't really understand. It seems like 2 to 3 months ago, you unanimously voted to not renegotiate this contract because of the wetlands issue in front of us. I think it's a problem when your staff goes ahead and ignores board direction and negotiates to extend the time of a contract when the board expressly stated that they could not do that. So I don't understand that action. And I don't understand why this is even being discussed at all. Even if there is, you know, an out, why are you talking about extending this contract when all of this is going on, when you just voted on this 3 months ago that you were not going to do that? It doesn't seem right.
Okay, thanks, Gail. Next on the list, Christine.
I'm sorry. My husband, Michael, and I are both listening to the discussion this evening. We've been residents of Lake Bluff for 36 years. And I have to admit that we're relatively new to this discussion about what could potentially occur with the golf course. We thought that the issue was resolved a few years back, but we've come to try to educate ourselves about the issues before us now. And it seems to me that any discussion, I would have to agree with Gail, is concerning extending the contract is really not proper at this point. It doesn't seem as if we have all the information in as to what the wetlands conversion could offer the community. And I'm not sure that the community, as perhaps exemplified by myself and my husband, are fully aware of what the options are for the use of that land. And so I would like to recommend that any discussions tonight be limited to just the remaining current lease agreement with them and not to have any discussions concerning extending it.
Thank you. Gary Doyle.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. I trust you can hear me. I wanted to speak out strongly in favor of this wetlands project, or at least examining it and getting input from the community before.
Gary, excuse me, we're not discussing the wetlands proposal now. We're discussing the agenda item, which is to discuss a golf lease revision.
That's thank you. I was just getting to that I don't think that this board should agree to any lease extension with Golf Visions without the community understanding what's on the table, what's at stake, what other competing possibilities could be, and getting input from the community about that. I think, there seems to be transparency issues here. And so I just would strongly urge the board to not move forward on that Golf Visions contract without exploring the alternatives and without hearing from the community.
Thank you. Carrie, I don't know if both Carrie and John Minorini are there.
Hi, it's Carrie. Yes, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Great, thanks. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you and appreciate the conversation. So I believe that we trust you all, we task you all to make decisions on behalf of our park district. And so this seems like it could protect us either way. Yes, I'm in favor of keeping the course. I'm also more in favor of a better financial outcome for our town whenever possible. So what I don't know is this lease a pretty good deal for us that they're offering? And does it have to be 7 years? Could it be not, 7 years? So they're offering 850 to cover capital expenditures. What happens if we decide to break that lease 1 year out because we've decided to move forward with wetlands? So I guess how that money shakes out, and is it in our best financial interest would be my question.
Thanks, Carrie. Jenny and Doug Simpson. I don't know if it's both.
It's Doug Simpson. Hi, how are you? First of all, thank you very much. I appreciate all of your hard work and what you do. My wife Jenny and I have been living in Lake Bluff since I believe it was 1995. My son was on the golf team. My father and I and my son have played golf at Lake Bluff. We love it. We think it's a wonderful course. However, I am one of 8% here in the town that participate in the golf course. And if we're going to make a decision based on 8% of the town using this resource, I think we're being quite myopic. And we need to make certain that we're taking into consideration all of the other things. For instance, I believe number one on your choice was beaches, and second from the village was walking paths. I don't know where golf lay in that or lies in that, but one thing I will tell you is that it's only 8% of this population. And I think that if we're going to make a decision tonight to extend a lease, I think we need to make certain that more than 8% is represented in this vote, and more than 8% who really want to participate in more than just golf are understanding exactly everything that can happen. For instance, there was a misrepresentation earlier saying that by going with this preserve, we're getting rid of the golf course. There are multiple options to have different types of golf courses within this preserve. And we have to be aware of that as well. And also, if you go back all the way to 2018, when we started talking, and I was in support of what has happened with the golf course. But at the same time, I understood our golf course is quite boring and needs to be changed. And I think that this is a great, wonderful opportunity for us to possibly change that golf course and make it a little bit more exciting for all of us to possibly play in. And because the pandemic might have seen a spike in people coming to see this golf course and work on this golf course and play golf, I think you're going to see a drop in the next couple of years. I think we have to be very careful about that. We have a great opportunity in front of us to look at all the options. I think we need to do that, make certain the whole town is aware of that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Doug. Thank you. Rich? We lost Rich. Jeff, I think, yeah, okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess I'm a little confused as far as the contract goes and the extension. you got to sort of question Golf Visions with regard to why are they all of a sudden ponying up $850,000? It's sort of like, well, what, are they know they got a sweetheart deal, so they're making the money, and the Park District is not. So I sort of scratching my head saying, well, they're sort of seeing the writing on the wall that there's a better deal out there. And I think that needs to be, like what some of the other folks were saying on the line, we need to look a lot harder at this and sort of table any kind of extension at this point.
Okay, thank you. Christine? Oh, we've jumped to Aaron Johnson. That's fine.
Hi, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you're on.
Yeah, so just to sort of summarize what I think I've heard and what I've read in the minutes, et cetera. So the contract goes through the end of 2023. And then the board unanimously voted down consideration of the extension and agreed to research the wetlands opportunity. And so I don't believe there's any need to extend at this juncture. And it does appear, the sort of objective of this group, right, is to make sure that everything is considered to ensure that it's aligned with the needs of the community. And so it appears that the task force and the delay of the extension is in the spirit of that. And so it does not appear that there's a need to extend the contract. And I would strongly recommend that you withhold continuing with this extension and conversation this evening, given your prior commitment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Christine?
I'm sorry. I believe I spoke earlier. Were you unable to hear me at the time?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
you did. That's correct. Sorry. Okay. Then we have John Shaw.
I lowered my hand.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to kind of support the board in researching all of these issues, whether it's extending the lease is a possibility. So is the wetlands. It's a possibility. Why would you eliminate something that could bring significant revenue to the village like the new lease? It sounds like you're looking at all options. So I think dismissing it out of hand because, you don't like the golf course or you have certain ideas about the golf course or wetlands or something like that, I think that's kind of short-sighted. So I support the board, at least exploring the lease options. That's all.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, we will now close the floor to public discussion and we'll open it to the board, and we'll start with John. If you want to go over your summary and how this evolved and so on.
Sure. I guess you can read in my memo on page 45 of the packet. Basically at the October meeting, the commissioners had directed staff to negotiate, renegotiate the terms of the current or the balance, I guess, of the 2 years left in our contract. And again, there was a motion not to discuss the 5-year extension. On November 4th, I met with Golf Visions, a few staff, and myself with Tim Miles Sr., Tim Miles Jr., and a few others from Golf Visions. And we discussed that possibility of renegotiating the current term and just an attempt to get a little more money for the capital expense and save the Park District some money over the next couple of years on that capital expense. They recently came back, requested a meeting with us, we were talking about several items as far as painting the interior of the clubhouse and food service for the upcoming season and equipment and some other things. At that point, they had proposed this idea if the Park District would approve the 5-year extension, they would do this capital starting this year with 70,000, increasing by 5,000 each year through the 7th year, where it would be 100,000 for that final year. And they had said, proposed putting in, a clause to terminate the contract if the wetlands project was to move forward, so that wouldn't, preclude that situation in the future. So I told them, I just had reiterated what I had told them back in November, which was that the board has directed staff not to negotiate the 5-year contract. So that's basically the way we left it. I brought this up to the board. I felt an obligation to at least make you aware of what they came back with. I was not surprised that it included the extension, but I just wanted to at least make you aware of the conversation that we had with them.
I would like to emphasize that this is not about approving an extension of the lease tonight. What we're talking about is allowing staff to discuss conditions under which we might agree to extend the lease. And the two primary conditions are, number one, we would get a fixed payment from Golf Visions of $850,000 over 7 years, which we all know the budget, and that would more than cover our capital needs for the next 7 years. And it would also have to include the ability to terminate that extension should we proceed with one of the wetlands proposals. So it gives us an out. And it potentially provides a substantial amount of money for the operation of the golf course, should we continue with the operation of the golf course. We're talking about discussing it now. There are other things that need to be discussed. There are other aspects of any kind of contract renewal that would have to be discussed. It seems to me that we are in a win-win position with this, where we can obtain what we need for the golf course and run it on the basis where we have no operational cost risk, where we have no capital investment cost risk, and we have a community golf course. And if we decide to go with the wetlands proposal, which I think we all accept is not a done deal, then we have the ability to get out of the lease extension and move on with whatever other project we've agreed to. So to me, it's absolutely a win-win, and to not go forward and discuss this, to me, would be irresponsible of the board.
If I could, I mean, I'm a firm believer in getting as much information as possible, because that's the only way we can make a smart decision. And I'm really viewing this as, because I was the one who made the motion just to keep us to, keep us within the 23-year contract when John was able to go to those negotiations, just to see if we could get the best deal possible within the terms that we had. And we're under an obligation contractually to keep the golf course in operation until 2023. We don't want to do anything to jeopardize that current contract. But I view this as an equation. The task force is going to look at what's going to happen economically with wetlands and all the different iterations that are possibly out there. That's one part of the equation. the other part of the equation is, as of 2023, we don't have a future of what the golf course management is going to be. So by allowing John Beeler to talk about the terms of a possible contract, that gives the second half of that equation. So we have more information to say intelligently which path sounds like it would be a right thing. And again, I'm not seeing this as I wouldn't move to say extend the contract. I would say, let's look at what the information is out there financially so that we can make a better decision and see a different future of what the golf course would have if it's operated as a golf course versus what the task force is going to be looking at with operating it as wetlands. So that's, I just see it as more information and giving us more tools to look at.
I agree. And I do almost feel like it could possibly be an insurance policy too. You know, does Golf Visions walk if we say, no, we're unwilling to even negotiate beyond that? Do they look at adding a different course to their portfolio when, you know, we could have had this and have it as an insurance policy in case we don't go with wetlands, and we still have it out if we do go with wetlands?
I think, you know, they obviously know what's going on with the communication that's going on and what's
Absolutely.
happening with the park district. So, you know, take a look at what our capital needs are for operating the golf course for the next couple of years. They targeted that number. So they obviously have an interest in trying to, that's their business. They want to manage the golf course. And they know that we are in active mode with looking at another proposal to change the whole nature of what the golf course could be. So I keep saying, you know, we're going to get a lot of information from the community, from Golf Visions, from the task force. The more information we have, the better we can really look at this globally.
Well, and just even to have a conversation, you know, maybe there's the opportunity to negotiate further too, you know, like they just threw this out there, you know, without even, you know, a plan, you know, I don't know.
There certainly are other points, and you know, Emily and I have discussed this as part of this golf committee we formed a few months ago. I mean, there are other issues that we want to discuss. It's not just a question of saying, do this and we sign on the dotted line. We want to improve and increase the community involvement in the golf course. We think that's one area that, and you know, a lot of that is due to COVID, and it hasn't been the easiest time to plan a lot of those things. But as we get through that period, hopefully, then that, you know, that's another issue. There are a number of issues which need to be discussed, but discussion is what we need. And then we find out what the opportunities for us are with everything.
Do we have a timeline of how we're planning to approach the contract discussions? So in other words, my concern would be that if we're going to shift courses now, then will there be a push to vote to extend the contract before we get the findings in from the task force?
Well, I don't know that we have a specific timeline. I think it's a question of whether we go back to Golf Visions and say, we're willing to sit down with you and discuss this. And then it's a question of going over all the points that we would want to discuss and seeing what agreement can be reached. I mean, the board has to agree to any agreement. There's nothing, we're not talking about approving a lease here, obviously. So that's something that has to be done. I would think, I don't know. I can't say. John, do you have any feeling for how quickly it's?
The current license agreement calls for the discussion of renewing or extending the contract no less than 180 days before the end of the term.
So that's by the end of June next year.
Okay.
So I don't know, I mean, this may be just my perception, but this we went into this contract, from what I understood, because there was no one else that would negotiate. I've heard several times we got a really bad deal because it was that or nothing. When I look at a risk share of 90-10, I don't think that's a contract I want to be in long term. So I would really have to look at those terms completely and just talk about extension. I would talk about redoing a contract and seeing if, now that golf courses are making money because of COVID, would we be able to get a more favorable contract in general? So that's one thing. But the other thing I'm still concerned about, and John, I apologize, but it's hard getting information sometimes. When you look at the consultant that they had in 2018 for the golf course, they estimated almost $2.6 million in capital. Now, I recognize that we outsourced it, so we got rid of our HR cost. But that capital number has gone down and down and down every year, and we haven't done the work on, so the capital number is not going down commensurate with the money that we're spending on the previous expense for capital. So I really need to look at a real number and really understand why our capital number is so low compared to what it was a couple of years ago, before I thought that a deal of $800,000 would really cover our capital. I just have to say that, because something just doesn't match.
Well, one of the things that is different, I mean, first of all, 2018 was a totally different time. One of the things that they were looking at then was rebuilding the clubhouse. And
I know, and I realized that.
And that was expensive. That was a big part of it.
Yep,
And so
that was $1 million.
the clubhouse was not rebuilt, but the money raised by the Lake Bluff Community Golf Association paid for the renovation of the clubhouse.
Right.
The list of capital needs has been reviewed with Golf Vision. And, you know, to your point, Sue, about how good a contract it is or how bad a contract it is. So the typical golf management agreement that is out there, and this is really what is done at almost every course, and it's what we did with Billy Casper Golf when they were managing the golf course for 3 years prior to Golf Vision's taking it over, where Lake Bluff Park District was responsible for all expenses.
Yep.
And we paid a management fee to Billy Casper Golf. And then we had both the risk and we had the upside, but we had the downside as well. And so when that was ended, the board, and you know, we were not on the board at the time, but the board decided that with Golf Visions, they had a way of eliminating the downside risk in exchange for giving away most of the upside potential.
Right.
And you know, you have to give something to get something. And they felt that eliminating the downside operational risk was worth giving up the upside potential. Now, could we make more money? Probably. If it were managed properly. Are we in the golf course management business? No, we're not. Could we hire somebody? Could we turn it around? Possibly.
I'm just saying that in the current climate, with golf doing pretty well right now with COVID, we don't know where that's going to go. I think it would be in our best interest to look at what are contracts looking like now. That's what I'm referring to.
And nothing prevents us from doing that. But my understanding is that they're working on the same basis, except their management fees have probably gone up because golf courses are more profitable.
So hang on one sec. So if you want to look in this contract more, are you then in favor of John working to continue dialogue?
I would rather us look at it first to see what we think, if this is the right deal, the good deal. I mean, I've heard several people say this was not a good contract. We had no choice. That was the only vendor we could get into. So before we jump on it, I want to make sure we think it's a good deal before we even consider. But I agree that we knew in October when we talked about not extending the contract, that the only thing we had to give was extending the contract. And we 100% agreed that we did not want to do that. So I don't understand why we would shift gears now.
Yeah,
Especially,
but I guess when the facts change, you're allowed to change your mind. And in this case, the facts have indeed changed.
because we wanted to keep it limited because the Horizon had this, the talk about the conversion of the golf course to wetlands. And so we wanted to see the best deal that we could get within the time frame that we had remaining. I'm frankly surprised, but Golf Visions obviously knows what's going on, to say that they're the ones that approached John and even put in that caveat that if anything changes with the nature of the golf course, that they would put that in as a contract provision. That I find to be rather unique, but also very perceptive on their part. So that gives us, I think, more of a comfort range to be able to have this kind of discussion and see where they would possibly go with the sweetest deal that we could possibly get. But also understanding that, you know, there could be a seismic, dramatic change to the golf course being there. So that seems like a huge plus on our side.
I agree. I think the out is the only reason we're even here having this discussion at all. You know, like if there was no out, you know, that was why we voted, you know, before, because we thought, well, they're never going to let us out of it.
Didn't want,
so yeah, we
didn't want to be locked in.
A whole new ballgame.
I agree with Nikki of it being like pretty much like an insurance policy. I really think they're being really good partners. And as you've seen tonight, we've listened to like two other good partners that we have, one being John Hirsch with the Friends of Foundation and Craig from the Nssra, and the importance of partnerships. And I think the Golf Vision coming to us and presenting something and knowing that what we're going through by giving us an out, I think they're being great partners. And I think we really need to be open to that, because at the end of the day, it's the partnerships that matter. And that's the most important thing. We have to remember that, who our partners are, because that's what's going to help us get through everything. I really believe that.
well, I just have one question. And so, John, you were asked to go and talk to Golf Visions without discussing renegotiation. And what was the result of those conversations?
They, you know, they said that they actually, Tim Miles Sr., I think, stated at the time that, you know, he wouldn't be a good businessman if he didn't talk about the 5-year extension. I said that we weren't able to discuss it. It was a specific, you know, part of the motion. You know, that I felt if they did, you know, contribute to the capital over the next 2 years, that would help with that renegotiation or negotiation of the extension in 2 years when that were to take place. So they just said at that time that they would think about it and they would get back to us. And so when they did come back, you know, this was their approach, was to, you know, to mention, they did say that they watched some of our meetings, videos of our meetings. They were aware of the wetlands issue, and that they were comfortable with that being, you know, some sort of clause or an out being built in the contract if you know, we would agree to do the 5-year extension, and they would renegotiate the terms of the current 2 years. So that's what they mentioned. I left it as, you know, I can't talk about that right now. So
But yeah, basically they wanted the extension, which is why we said, no, we didn't want that in the contract.
will they come
Okay,
back?
thank you.
I would like a motion, and the language I'm proposing is this: to allow staff to discuss with Golf Visions a lease extension based on Golf Visions' proposal for fixed payments to the Park District, and the ability of the Park District to terminate any extension without penalty should any wetlands proposal currently being made be accepted by the board.
Is that, does that mean that the contract changes and that there's not a risk share of 1090? That's eliminated?
Has to be negotiated, Sue.
But you didn't specify that in the motion. So
I'm not.
I know, I realize this is not the contract.
With everything, we can't put it all in the motion.
Okay.
We have to give staff the ability to go negotiate the best agreement they can. And if we get an agreement back that we don't like for another reason, we don't accept it.
Just to make it real clear, could we add to the motion, if the golf course is used for another purpose, just in case there's like some weird thing, just to kind of keep that in our, forethought, like if it's like ends up being like wetlands with something else, or, I don't know, just to make sure that it's clear.
Well, to me, and I'm not the attorney here, but to me, it can't be too open-ended, or, we're not going to come back 4 years from now, having extended the lease and say we're cutting out, the last 3 years because we decided to do something else with the golf course. I think we're looking, I put in any wetlands proposal currently being made. So
Okay.
that includes proposals for a 9-hole golf course with wetlands, or, 70 acres or 80 acres of wetlands as well. I would think we would have to do something like that.
Paul, can you read that one more time, please?
Yeah. To allow staff to discuss with Golf Visions a lease extension based on Golf Vision's proposal for fixed payments to the Park District and the ability of the Park District to terminate any extension without penalty should any wetlands proposal currently being made be accepted by the board.
I would want to do that, but I'd want to amend it slightly to give them the ability to negotiate the best possible contract. I mean, just to be able, I understand where we're going because they came to the Park District with a fixed term and with the with no penalty, but give broad range to be able to negotiate the best possible terms, and then bring that back to the board. But I agree with the fixed payments, and definitely without a penalty provision that has to be.
I just put those two things in because without those 2 points, it's a non-starter.
Okay.
And if do you want me to put that?
I guess it's just a negotiation. We don't really have, we're all gonna have approval
right
at the end anyway, right? So we don't really need to get too much in the weeds on this one.
How does that work? I could see this going on endlessly. Poor John coming back and then we going back with 1 point and back with another point. So how does?
Well,
that's what this, yeah.
I think what would happen, first of all, is Emily and I, who are still on this golf committee, could put together some of our ideas, and certainly, the rest of the board is welcome to add ideas that you may have that we would want for any lease extension, any new contract. And as I said, community involvement, and I know Emily is very keen on that, is one point we want to see in there. Some kind of profit sharing, is something that I think is something that should be negotiated. And then we give John direction as to what to negotiate. And you're right, they could come back with an agreement and we could say, you left this out, you left that out. Go back and see if you can get it in. And at the end of the day, John comes back with a contract that's, this is the best he can do. And we accept it or we don't accept it. Any negotiation to think we're going to get everything we want exactly as we want it is, probably not realistic, although Golf Vision has been very, very positive towards the golf course and towards us. And they've been very cooperative in what they've done. And I think what we did with the golf carts is a prime example of that, where we're going to end up with new golf courts on the golf course, and we paid off our lease and put $37,000 in the bank. Sue, they're getting a good deal. One of the speakers talked about it. There's no question they're not doing it because they don't make money at it. No doubt about it.
I completely understand. I just look and say, do we wait till the task force is done? again, I keep going back to that. We all were in agreement that this was exactly what we were not going to do. And it does send a message. So that's probably my biggest concern, other than, you know, has the climate changed in the golf world? And why are we talking extension when maybe we should be talking contract?
Well, but again, as Scott pointed out,
True.
facts change, situation changes. $850,000 to pay our capital expenses is a meaningful proposal. And it warrants discussion. We're responding to changing situations all the time on the board. We have to. All right,
Most
if we
of you
agree,
lived through the last contract, so, or the,
you know,
Yeah.
the last contract is the last contract, Sue. What can we do?
exactly.
You know, now we work with what we have and try to improve it. And this is an improvement. If we get the things that they say we're going to get and other things that we may want. And if not, we don't approve it.
I think we keep saying the same thing, and I want to make sure that we are all on the same page on this. We don't want to hamper the task force. We don't want to hamper anybody's analysis of what we have as before us as a proposal. This would be a good source of potential for us, you know, another way to look at this. So,
All right, can I please have a motion to allow staff to discuss with Golf Visions a lease agreement, a lease extension based on Golf Vision's proposal for fixed payments to the Park District and the ability of the Park District to terminate any extension without penalty should any wetlands proposal currently being made be accepted by the board.
So moved. Emily.
Second.
Marshall, roll call, please.
Marcia, you're on mute.
Yep, yep.
President Greenfield, there is, Sue has her hand raised. I don't know if she has one more question.
No, I don't.
We're not
Intentionally.
taking.
I think it just went like this.
You have your virtual hand raised.
Virtual hand raised.
Okay, Commissioner Beeler,
yes.
Commissioner Lane,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymore,
Can I abstain? I'm just not comfortable with this vote yet, so I'll abstain.
Commissioner Reader,
No.
Commissioner Walsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Weber,
Yes.
President Greenfield.
Yes. Okay, motion passes. Thank you all. We are now going to the next item, which is the capital asset reporting proposal. I assume there will be no public comments on this. John, do you want to go over this, please?
Sure. I'm actually going to turn this over to Josh here to go through his memo, which is on page 46.
Yeah, so our capital asset reporting proposal from Lauterbach and Amen. So in previous years, the Park District used Asset Works, which was through our insurance, Paderma, for no additional charge. In December, we found out that Paderma will no longer be working with Asset Works on the capital asset reporting. So we would need to find a new capital asset reporting program. Lauterbach and Amen already had a program in place somewhat that they used internally that they then developed for the park districts to also use. We do use the capital asset reporting for our audit, so it is a necessity to have. I think we also use it for our insurance, for some of our for tracking some of our assets. They have 3 different levels. Level 1 is what they stated that is comparable to what we use Asset Works for now would be, and that would be $1,250 annually with an initial setup fee of $750. And there would be a level 2 and a level 3 of 25 and 6,000. Staff recommendation would be using Lauterbach and Amon's level 1 capital asset reporting services at $1,250 with an initial setup of $750.
Any questions, anyone?
So the total you're approving would be 2,000 for the first year, and then it would drop back down to the 1,250.
Right. And we have to do this.
Correct.
Can I please get a motion to approve the level 1 capital asset reporting proposal from Lauterbach and Amen LLP at $1,250 with an initial setup fee of $750?
So moved.
So moved. Seconded, Beeler.
Marcia, roll call, please.
Commissioner Beeler,
Yes.
Commissioner Lane,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymore,
Yes.
Commissioner Reader,
Yes.
Commissioner Walsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Weber,
Yes.
President Greenfield.
Yes. Okay, now we will move on to the Lake Bluff Youth Baseball Association affiliate agreement for approval. John, do you want to speak to this or?
Sure. Superintendent Lakeman and Mock and myself met with some of the board members from the association, went over the contract, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jim to kind of summarize that and any changes to the contract or the agreement.
Yeah, so we met last week. We do meet on an annual basis with the Baseball Association just to talk about future capital projects that they might have or would like to do on our property. This year, they would like to tear down their old shed, which sits behind Artesian Fieldhouse, and would like to rebuild a new shed. They want to put up some safety netting, but 100% of, I believe, for both those projects would be on them. They do want to change out a lock that they have a storage room behind the Artesian Fieldhouse, so they can have easier access where it's more of a key fob. But we would have access, since it's our building, to that storage closet as well. I will say our relationship with the Baseball Association has been fantastic, between the recreation side of things as well as the maintenance side. I don't know if Superintendent Mock wants to add anything else to our conversation.
No, I'd just like to reiterate, we do have a wonderful relationship with the Baseball Association, a lot of a give and take, and a lot of understanding between both organizations. So it's a great partnership we have for the community.
So we always have this agreement at a 3-year agreement, with the understanding that we do talk at the end of each year. We did request that they have conversations with us a little bit sooner, right when summer is over with, just in case if there are some items that we have to budget for. I don't believe we're going to be spending any money this year on any of those improvements. But I would like to make a recommendation to proceed with a new 3-year agreement with the Lake Bluff Baseball Association.
Jim, are they going to be working on that tree anytime soon?
Oh, Noah, would you like to report on the tree?
Sure. I've actually been talking with Doug Cassidy, the past president of the Lake Bluff Baseball Association. They had an artist scheduled for March to come in and do the full room, the carving that they had planned to do. I believe that the last time I talked to Doug on Friday, they were kind of getting to the point where they were deciding whether or not to just pull the plug completely and cut it down. So I have one more conversation with them scheduled for this week just to see what the final decision was. But they do have an artist plan to carve it. So we'll see if that actually comes to fruition or if we end up cutting it down within the next couple of weeks. I will keep the board informed.
Please do. I've been waiting patiently to see what happens.
As have we all.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, could I please get a motion to approve the affiliate agreement with Lake Bluff Youth Baseball Association for a 3-year period ending on December 31, 2024, and to authorize staff or executive director to sign the agreement?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second,
Nikki and Sue. Okay.
Marcia, roll call, please.
Commissioner Bueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Lane,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymore,
yes.
Commissioner Reader, Commissioner
Yes.
Reader, Commissioner Walsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Weber,
Yes.
President Greenfield.
Yes. Okay, if we can move on to the next item, posting packets online. I would like to introduce this if I can, and if we're going to have any public comments. The practice of the board has been to post the agenda, which is done at least 48 hours prior to any meeting. We've never, to my knowledge, we've never posted the entire packet, which is the practice of about, what we're told by our attorney, it's the practice by about 50% of park districts. Villages and other organizations tend to do that more often, to post the entire packet. As I've stated at a couple of meetings previously, I think the board has a number of policies that need review because they were old policies. They're no longer valid. They're no longer warranted. They may have followed certain practice that we don't follow anymore, or vice versa. This is the first of those that was brought up by 2 of our commissioners who wanted to address this sooner than when we're going to look at the other policies in a coming meeting. I do not see any public comments, so we will end public comments and go to board discussion.
There's one hand
Hand
up.
raised.
I think there is a hand raised there for Gail Gamroth.
I'm sorry, I told myself I was not going to speak tonight. I just want to say I appreciate this and I appreciate putting this forward. I do need to comment that the vote on the last action item in the same name of transparency, you are the optics of this look so bad. You are changing the game. I think this contract
Gail,
would
please,
be.
we're not talking, Gail, I'm sorry. We're not talking in the interest of the board meeting continuing. We're not going to be addressing past issues that we've talked about. I'm sorry.
It's all a transparency issue. You said you weren't going to negotiate that for 3 months ago until we're done with the task force in June. You could wait till June. They will probably have a better deal for you in June.
Gail,
as they're operating
can I ask
behind the
you-
scenes.
Can I ask you to address this agenda item, please?
I want to thank you for this agenda item, but again, the trust is not there. Thank you.
Do we have any comments on this? I mean, personally, I have no issue with putting the board packet online with the agenda.
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm the commissioner that originally raised the idea of posting the entire packet online. I do think it's important to be transparent and as well as continue to involve our community in the topics that we're discussing. Our topics are very detail oriented, and I think the participants in our meeting deserve to know the details of what we're talking about. So I'm the one that brought this forward.
I agree. I didn't even realize because I've been getting these packets for so long, having been on committees to the board and everything for years, that I didn't even realize the full packets were not posted online. So yeah, I think for sure.
I'd like to know if anybody feels there's a reason not to post them. I can see in the old days when it wasn't all electronic, but is there, if only 50% of the park district, I'm just curious why you wouldn't post them.
I have 2 concerns. One is that our ACH payments, our purchase cards, and contracts and so forth have community members' personal information, their names, and also information about money. So I don't know how we can address that, because I don't, not that you have to necessarily have their consent if they're due a refund or something like that, but my concern is that somebody may not want to have that kind of information posted. That's number one. Number two is that we deal with a lot of financial information, which I agree should be accessible to everybody in the community. However, I want to make sure that when we have budgetary information and things like that, that we make sure that everything is stamped as draft or final, so that no one takes anything out of context. It says, oh, you posted this when we're giving, you know, presentment about possible budget issues, so that we make sure that we're very clear as to what we have. I think it should be there. I think it should be marked appropriately. But you tell me how we can address having some of these personal, and again, it may not be great finances, but we're still talking about somebody getting refunds or payments or something like that, and they may not necessarily want to be part of the internet.
That information could always be FOIA though, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
public, you know, file that we're a public, you know, entity. So I don't know that, I don't know. I mean, I see what you're saying, but I don't know that protecting it makes, you know, doesn't matter, I don't think.
It can be, but these people haven't consented to having their personal financial information posted on a website.
Sorry, can you be a
Did
little
ask-
bit?
If I could
what-
just say, I
ahead.
did ask our attorney about that specifically, about that concern, and they said, no, we're a public agency and these are public funds. And so he said most park districts that do post their packets include that information. So if it's, you know, Joe Smith is receiving a refund for $280, so we'll have their name and we'll have their information. They don't do a separate package that and redact some of that information. They include it. I asked him also why, you know, or what the reasoning was for not posting those, and it's kind of what you were saying about it being a draft. The fact that, you know, when you send this information out, the board, as it discusses, may change what, you know, what the motion is, or the packet gets updated with newer information and somebody downloaded the previous one. And so he said that was one of the concerns cited for park districts not posting it, but again, about 50% do.
So then perhaps we could add an agenda item to mention if there's been an update to the packet. So if you went to the website and you printed off the packet, you could go and look at the new one. Would that work?
Yeah, it's pretty easy for us to you know, to update the packet, and it'd probably be good to mention at the beginning of the meeting that, you know, we're using the updated packet. If you haven't downloaded that, please go back to the website and download that.
Great, thank you.
So if we marked the financials, for example, as a draft, we could do that on the initial packet that we send out. And then after the meeting, once it's been approved, we take that draft off the Word and just have the final edition.
Well, I think, right, the goal is to have as well of a put together packet as we can for the Thursday meeting, or the Thursday before the Monday meeting, right? Because that's the information that we all use as commissioners to read and research and come prepared for our Monday meeting. So I think we want to try and have we want to mark it draft unless there's something, you know, we think something's going to change, but I think it'd be good to have as prepared a packet as possible.
I mean, it happened tonight with the with John Hirsch's presentation. Sometimes something's not going to be in there.
Right.
But I think giving the, like, I think just like Nikki, I assume that everybody had the packet too. I think I even said it to somebody. I'm like, yeah, it's right there. And I didn't know that we just did the agenda. And just to let you know, I know the Lake Forest High School just posts their agenda too. They don't put a whole packet. So it's not uncommon for other places to do it. But I think it is a good thing to just put, especially if a lot of, you know, I think it just gives more transparency. And I think, like you've heard today, that's essential for communication. So if we can do it, I think we should do it. So I'm in favor of doing it.
Does
Yeah,
this
we're not the
include
only
the
ones.
video also? Or is that a whole different motion?
Say that
Sorry?
again?
Does this include the video? You know, sometimes when we post the video,
That's done anyway. After the meeting, that's done anyway.
okay.
After the meeting, the minutes are posted.
I usually see the video. I don't always. So that's
Yeah.
why I was asking. That's fine. Thanks.
I think the common in the past, it's been what the Park District has done for years is post the video of the regular meetings. And maybe Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they post the committee, the whole meetings.
That's correct.
Okay. So that's a different conversation. Okay. Thanks, John.
So I think in doing this, we all recognize that it's ideal if the packet is posted on Thursday, but sometimes things are going to come up later. There are going to be delays. Something's going to happen, and that may be posted later than Thursday. Or there may be additions like there were this week and so on, where there are changes, but all we can do is post it when we can.
And the attorney did recommend just marking it as a draft because it's not final until the board actually takes action on that item. And it may change during, so they just recommended marking it as a draft.
All right, let me try this. Can we get a motion, please, to post our entire packet online when the agenda is posted, with staff being directed to note items that are only in draft form, to mark them as such.
Can we just mark the whole thing as draft?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the packet would be marked as a
Just
draft.
mark it all in draft, and to be marked in draft, as draft.
And then it would be for all Park District meetings, including the task force and all committee meetings.
And make a motion that we post the packets with the agendas for all committees. Yes, sorry.
We generally have policies that cover all committees as well. We normally don't have policies that only cover, one or the other. We did one thing for the task force, but normally that's the exception.
Okay.
So the policy of the
You're
board
saying-
would be to post complete packets as drafts prior to meetings of the Park District. Now, the agenda is put up on the board at the rec center, correct, Sean?
Yes.
So we're not going to post the whole packet there, are we?
No, we could print it out and have it available if someone requested it.
Can
But
I
we
ask
wouldn't
what,
post it.
so what's the practice on that if we mark things as draft? Are you saying that it's going to have like a draft watermark on everything, or draft on the bottom of each page, or is there other consensus with those park districts that do post?
Yeah, I would have to find out. I'm not sure exactly how they mark those. So I would check to see what other park districts do.
There's just a simple draft option when you're creating a PDF. You just kind of have to, just do a quick Google search and you can find it pretty quickly.
Okay.
All right, so can I please have a motion that we direct staff to post the complete packet in draft form on the website at the same time that the agenda is posted?
So moved. And I would just add for all Park District meetings.
Park
So
District
moved.
meetings, for all Park District meetings.
I second.
Marcia, roll call, please.
Commissioner Bueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Lane,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymore,
Yes.
Commissioner Reader,
Yes.
Commissioner Walsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Weber,
Yes.
President Greenfield.
Yes. Okay, motion passes. Final item on the new business agenda, golf equipment purchase. And not seeing any public comments on this. This is something that we have to do relative to the contract that we have with Golf Visions, where we are required to buy certain equipment. And this is something that staff is recommending as the most efficient way of doing this. John, do you want to?
Sure, I'll start off and I'll have Noah jump in just a moment here. But yes, as part of our conversation with Golf Visions, actually in the contract to review the capital needs, these two pieces of equipment that are on this contract or on the quote were part of that discussion. We've brought this up before with the board. I believe we were talking about it during the maybe during the budget session, and one of the I think one of the commissioners at that time had commented that, you know, could we look at other options too for the equipment and not just purchasing necessarily new equipment? Is there, you know, is there other options as far as a lease or maybe less expensive used equipment? So at this point, you know, staff has done that. They've priced some new equipment and then found a couple of pieces that match what's needed here that were used at a somewhat local dealership. So I'll let Noah go ahead and explain a little bit about that.
Certainly. So yes, at direction from the board, we decided to look into obviously some used equipment that meets the same needs that they're looking to do for Golf Visions to replace this equipment. We were able to get a favorable price from the dealership for these two pieces of used equipment. They will obviously come in $12,000 less than we had originally budgeted for, which it brings savings to the district. The one piece of equipment, should things change depending on the future of the golf course, could still be used as a park piece of equipment, a mower. So there's no downside to that as far as this purchase goes as well. The other being used, it has a high resale value, much like a car. Once you drive it off a lot, it depreciates right away. Used equipment does not depreciate as fast. That initial depreciation is already gone, so we don't suffer a loss from that side of things. And I think this is the most efficient way to solve the capital equipment purchase with reduced capital expenditure.
And Noah, from what John was saying, the rough mowers, actually, it sounds to me like a more efficient piece of machinery than we would have afforded if it were new, because we don't have to have a tractor pull it.
Correct. This is a self-propelled drive-on piece of equipment rather than a pull behind. So one piece of equipment rather than two. Correct.
And I believe you noted, Noah, that the other one, which is on the second quote there, the pull behind, was going to take a certain attachment that for the tractor that is currently, there's no ship date on those. They're not available to get.
Correct. There is an aftermarket piece that would also be required to purchase a hydraulic pump that the manufacturer has not listed any date of resupply. So that we would not be able to use the piece of equipment until that came in, which they don't know when it's coming in. So it kind of leaves a bit of a pickle.
So they did, I know our mechanic Ben and Noah have been working with, working on getting these quotes. When they originally brought it in, it was a little bit higher. I think while they were in here, we called, put them on speakerphone, and I, tried to negotiate a lower price. They did drop a few thousand off the original. I think it was 56 or 57,000. So they dropped it down a little bit, but I guess it's in Noah and Ben's. It seemed like you were pretty comfortable in recommending the two used pieces of equipment. There's it's a small warranty, but at least a warranty that you can get the equipment here, make sure everything is working. I think it's covered powertrain, et cetera, for about 3 months. And so we were comfortable in recommending this to the board and again, saving about $12,000 over what was budgeted. And the last item was that although it's over 12,000, because it's used equipment, we don't have to do an RFP and go out for, for sealed bids on this.
Guys, thanks for doing the work on this, and I appreciate the opportunity to have some savings in what we originally budgeted. And I'm sorry if you said this and I just missed it, or if I wasn't following, but are we saying that our current equipment is no longer usable or is no longer able to be fixed?
Correct.
I think this is replacing, no, is it a 2006, the main piece of equipment?
Yes, the ride-on rough mower is a 2006, and the triplex that's listed is a 2000.
When we sell
22.
that equipment to somebody, what would they typically do with it? Are they going to try and fix it, or is it just sold for?
It depends. So what we would do is we would list the used equipment, the equipment we're getting rid of as disposal property would go to the board. So you would sign off on that, and then we would list it at an auction site. Somebody who has a fleet may parse it out for parts, take the best part, much like a scrapyard, they'll take the best parts off of it that they can and use it in their used equipment to keep theirs going. So I've known over the years people who have their own home putting greens who have bought used equipment at auction, and if it gets them through 3 months of the year, then they'll purchase it and use it in their own home. So it depends what happens to it after auction, but that's usually what happens.
And there is a current list of several pieces of equipment that the staff is going to recommend be put for sale. That would be brought back to the board to approve for disposal. And the estimate is that that might bring in somewhere around $8,000 to $10,000 if we set limits, or reserves on those auction items. And so that, again, will just be a little extra revenue to kind of help offset the cost of purchasing this used equipment.
Okay, thank you. And you said at the beginning of this topic that this is a required expense or a required approval, right? Part of our obligation with Golf Visions. Could you just talk about that for a minute?
In the current license agreement, there is a paragraph in there that says that the capital items are supposed to be reviewed annually with Golf Visions, and they recommend what they feel is needed, because now they're using the equipment. We're not, it's not our staff using or maintaining the equipment. So these were two that they came back and identified that were really kind of getting run into the ground. That, again, that 2006 has about 10,000 hours on it, and they're having a lot more and more problems with it. And our mechanic agreed with that assessment. So this used piece, it's a 2016 with about 2,000 hours. So it's really getting, definitely a newer piece of equipment that's going to hopefully run for several years. And as that one, as Noah mentioned, that's something that we could actually use in other areas, not just the golf course, if the golf course goes away in 2 years.
Okay, yeah, thank you. That was my last question, is if we decide to go with the wetlands option and we don't need golf equipment or partial wetlands option or whatever that ends up being, what's the resale value? Or it sounds like it's a multi-use piece of equipment, I've just learned,
Yes.
right?
It's a multi-use piece of equipment, that one. The other one we may not still need, but again, I think as Noah pointed out earlier, by buying the equipment used, you don't have as quick a depreciation as you do buying a new piece, like buying a new car. As soon as you roll off the parking lot at the dealership, it's depreciated, whatever, 15%. In this case, with the used equipment, it won't drop as quickly.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, if there are no more comments or questions, can I please have a motion to purchase two pieces of golf maintenance equipment totaling $54,687 from Revels Turf and Tractor for the continued maintenance of the golf course?
So moved.
Second.
Marcia, roll call, please.
Commissioner Beeler,
Yes.
Commissioner Lane,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymore. Raymore, you're on mute. Okay,
I think
Commissioner
she's saying
Reader.
yes. but-
She did. Commissioner Reader,
Yes.
Commissioner Walsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Weber,
Yes.
President Greenfield.
Yes. Okay, that concludes the new business. Now, are there any written communications, community comments or correspondence, John?
No, we don't have anything else to share this evening.
Okay. If that is all, then if I can please ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Marcia, roll call, please.
Commissioner Bueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Lane,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymore,
Yes.
Commissioner Reader,
Yes.
Commissioner Walsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Weber,
Yes.
President Greenfield.
Yes, I'm a little sad to say that, but you'll still have me to kick around on the board, so don't worry about it. Okay, thank you all very much. Stay warm and safe, and we'll have the next meeting on February 7th.
Thanks.
Thank
Paul.
you.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Thank you,
night.